Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the E-Mazing Experience. I'm your host, as always, Evan Mays. Today we're delving into the alchemical adventure known as Atelier Escha and Logy, Alchemists of the Dust Sky, for the PlayStation 3. The reason I chose this game in particular is because when I was a young lad, owning a PlayStation 2 with my brothers, I bought two games. One of them was Atelier Iris, and the other one was Atelier Iris 2. And I thought both of those games were really awesome, but I haven't really played one for about 10 years. And I was really excited to see that they were still making Atelier games on the PlayStation 3, so I decided to go ahead and rent this one from GameFly. And I gotta tell you, I kind of enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this game, but I mean, I don't need to tell you that right now. I mean, let's watch, actually do the review first so you know why I actually enjoyed the game. Enough talk, let's get to it. Atelier Escha and Logy is a game that takes place in a town where two alchemists are brought together in a research and development department for the betterment of mankind. You can choose which character the game focuses on at the beginning of the game, either Escha or Logix, aka Logy. Escha is a more lighthearted and free spirit, while Logy is more serious and introverted. I like how both of their personalities differ, and it's really reflected in the style of their stories. I preferred Logy because I used the rule of cool. One thing I really enjoyed about Esco and Logy are the sound and musical direction. I really liked the voice acting and thought all involved did a pretty good job. I remember seeing some people really didn't care for the voice of Rafer, but it really didn't bother me all that much. I kind of thought he had a, quirky voice, but I guess I'm just
I'm
easy to
not
please.
amazing.
One thing that did bother me though was how some of the animations seemed a little stiff. I felt like it kind of dulled the impact of some of the script. Also, I think some of the events where they just have a still picture
So you
instead of
heard
an
the
actual
story from
scene
Nietzsche,
weren't
right?
very good.
My
I can
last
understand what
project
they were
was
trying to
about
do,
failure.
but once again, it
Never
just dulled the
understood
impact of
either
some
of these
scenes that could have been really
So I
evocative if
decided
they
not
were
to
really
trust them,
rendered.
and I continued researching on my own, but I was wrong. I don't know why I stopped listening, because their questions to me were valid. Even then, there was one man who continued to support me. He said I had to get along with the others. With that attitude, the accident was inevitable. Even worse, the fire destroyed all my research. My only friend tried to put the fire out and was maimed. He was a pilot, and he'll never fly again. I took his dream away.
Ah, the combat system. Although it's not like the combat system from the previous games that I played, this battle system is actually really cool. This system has you using three characters at a time, with each person paired up with another in the same space. This facilitates actions like blocking, which can mean the difference between an easy fight, a hard fought win, and a miserable loss. You also have the option to do follow up attacks with your active and reserve characters. What does this mean? Well, this leads to some pretty cool looking fights where all of your characters are coming out of the woodwork to beat down the enemy. There are also super moves in the game that can be used to deal massive amounts of damage to the enemy. These moves do even more damage when an enemy is close to death and go from being a normal super move to being a flashy finisher.
Um, excuse me, Soul.
The story of Atelier Escha and Logy, like other RPGs, eventually escalates to being a save everyone from danger kind of game. But mainly the game centers around Escha and Logy being civil servants. I know a lot of people like fighting the big bosses on a grand stage, but I kind of enjoyed the mostly laid back tone. I say mostly because as a civil servant, you have deadlines to meet. This game has you doing your main quest activities within a certain period of time. There's actually a lot of things to do in a limited amount of time, and since everything from travel to alchemy takes time, time management is key here. Speaking of alchemy, it happens to be one of my favorite parts of the entire game. The alchemy system has been greatly overhauled in the past few years, and I really like the way it's done here. Esca and Logi are both alchemists that both have very different strengths. While Esca is great at making items using alchemy, Logi uses another brand of alchemy done in the central city to create and modify weapons and armor. Most items used for these processes are found on monsters, in dungeons, bought in stores, or are made by the player. As a result, the player has a lot of control over all of the player characters' loadouts as well as the items used for both healing and battle. What's also great is the fact that the method for using alchemy is fun and user friendly. When trying to get a certain attribute on an item, all one has to do is use enough of one element to reach the desired effect. Don't have enough elemental power? No problem. This system allows the player to use the power of other elements inherent within the item to strengthen others and help the process along. I love this because it added a bit of strategy to the alchemical process and made it a bit more challenging and interesting. I have to say that I really enjoyed Atelier Escha and Logy. I enjoyed the story, the characters, the combat system, and the music. I just wish they had done more with the character models in terms of movement and expression. I also gotta say that the images, still images actually, of Escha crying did not really do a whole lot to make me sympathize with what was going on. Uh, I didn't really feel it. With all that said, I have to give Atelier Escha and Logy Alchemist of the Dusk Sky for the PlayStation 3 a 10-carat score. Well, that's my show. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please don't hesitate to send them to me at e.maze@othersci-fi.com. Thanks for watching, and make sure to watch out for the next E-mazing experience.